Hi, welcome everybody. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, as you know, and I'm here with Jon Barron, Baseline of Health Foundation, BaselineNutritionals.com, the inventor of Mega Garlic.
And Super Viral-Gon?
Super Viral-Gon,
yeah.
Oh my. I have some stories for you on that one. And what we're going to do here is just chat about what's interesting, what's going on with health and with the world.
Okay.
We have all the time we need. We're going to cover some very interesting topics. So, and also you have some new products to talk about.
Show and tell and play and things you can experience.
Oh, I can't wait. You want to start with an experience?
All right, let's start with the one that we were talking about before, is the Warp Speed.
Okay.
Let me quickly tell you what it is.
Yeah, Warp Speed is the tincture name.
Tincture name. And the way it actually started is several years ago, some people came to me and said, can you do Red Bull, but do the Jon Barron thing, make it healthy. So I basically took a different approach. Instead of the taurine and caffeine, I said, can we do something that sort of directly stimulates the body and the brain? And I actually found herbs that stimulate the pleasure centers in the brain and the body.
So I'm going to get my pleasure centers stimulated
You
right
are.
now?
You actually are.
On camera?
On camera.
Oh,
we're gonna play with that in a moment.
Okay.
You'll feel it because if you swish it in your mouth, you can feel it in like 20 seconds.
Okay.
It's a trip.
All right.
But what happened is, then they found out that to do a run in soda, the minimum run was 25,000 cases. And they stopped. So I basically had this, I turned it into a tincture, and then we found it had some interesting benefits because it stimulates the pleasure centers, kills the desire for comfort food.
Oh, really?
That says it works sort of as a passive appetite suppressant.
Interesting.
Because you have no desire for comfort foods, because you feel good. The other interesting thing is we found out anecdotally it's killing a lot of desire for cigarettes, again, because it stimulates pleasure centers.
Wow, very interesting.
So and it gives you a lift. And actually, let's play with it. What you're going to do is take...
Now, is this habit forming? Am I?
No, no.
I want to make totally sure. Okay, let's.
None of that.
All right, first, what's in it?
Okay, there are basically three things in it. One, you mentioned you were familiar with bacopa.
Right.
Bacopa is an herb from India. It's known to stimulate the brain, memory. It stimulates the pleasure centers in the brain. The other unusual herb in it is malungu.
Malungu. Now,
Malungu.
That's a new one to me.
Isn't that a great name?
I love
Malungu. It's from South America. It stimulates the pleasure centers in the body. That's the one you'll actually physically feel. If you have it without a stimulant, it's a sedative, but we have some green tea in there, a little bit of a stimulant.
Okay.
And then what it works is it actually sort of will pick you up and carry you for a while.
Okay.
So take 3 droppers, swish them around in your mouth. You don't have to do it that way, but you'll feel it much faster if you swish it for about 30 seconds.
I'm going to get taken for a ride. Here we go.
Take 3 droppers. 2, 3. Swish it around. About 20 seconds. It's actually not bad for the tinctures I make. It's not too bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, what you experienced, and we gave this to one of the first people I gave it to. I actually had him use it over the phone. And his description was, as he took it, waited a few seconds, and he said, "No, I don't feel anything yet." No. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I'm starting to feel a little buzzing in my hands. The warmth in my hands, a little. Oh, dude. Dude, I'm stoned, but in a good way.
So that's what I have to look forward to here in the next few seconds?
Yeah.
Well, instantly, I had a shift of clarity.
Yeah.
Instantly. Now I'm starting to feel some warmth in my extremities.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty happy too, but I'm a happy guy, so that's not unusual.
It is. It's always fun when you can actually, because so much we take is on faith. You like supplements, or you take them because you believe they're going to keep you well. It's always fun when you can feel the result of something immediately.
Yes. Now I feel a little bit of tingling in my mouth.
But the main thing you're after is actually that clarity and that sort of lightening in the head.
Yeah.
And you actually feel really good.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fun. Anyway, that's
awesome. Okay. Yeah, and it's a lot easier to take than Super Viral-Gon. By the way, now I have a great story for you on Viral-Gon.
Yeah.
I had the president of the Amazon Herb Company, John Easterling.
Sure.
Amazon John. He was over visiting my house when he was in Tucson a few months ago. And he came to look at my vitamin collection, my nutritional supplements wall, because there are hundreds of products there. He says, "Wow, you're really into nutrition." I said, "Yeah, I am. And if you want to have an experience, here's one." And I pulled out your Super Viral-Gon.
Yeah.
I said, John, you got to try this. Because he will drink herbs from the rainforest just raw, unprocessed. I mean, high potency stuff, crazy stuff, and he has no problem with it. He takes a dropper of this stuff, puts it in his mouth, swishes it around, says, "Yep, I won't be catching any colds for the next couple of days. That's for sure." There was a definite kick on this.
Yeah. No, that's. And we know that works. The previous version, the Mega Garlic you mentioned,
yes,
which actually did not have things in it like the zinc and the oil of oregano, which make it even stronger. We've known for years it kills flu. It kills. Got to be careful the things we say. But,
yeah. Well, let's. But I can say that the ingredients in here have a long history of being antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, and even though it hasn't been tested like a pharmaceutical, there are thousands of years of traditional use.
What I can hint at,
yes,
I will hint at, it's actually being tested now by agencies that I cannot name.
I see. This is getting into your new customer list, I think.
Yeah. Basically, there are agencies that have to remain nameless that are actually testing this for its effectiveness in things like bird flu and smallpox. And supposedly, we keep hearing it keeps passing tests, and they keep moving it on to higher level testing. So we will wait and see.
Well, for those watching, again, if you can get some Super Viral-Gon, get it now before it's out of stock. This is what I stock up on. And I always bring it when I travel too, by the way. Like at this trade show, I have a vial of this at my hotel. If I begin to show any symptoms whatsoever, I start chugging this stuff.
Yeah.
But never on an empty stomach, by the way, because the garlic is potent.
It's potent, yeah.
Yes. So I always drink something or eat something and then take some of this. So what else do you have to show us here, John?
Well, there's the Metal Magic.
Oh, yeah.
This is one that we actually have started to run clinicals on a number of our products. This was the first one we ran.
Show this Metal Magic.
Okay. It's a heavy metal detoxer. We actually ran clinicals, found in 6 weeks. Basically, we had 50 people. We didn't do double blind because, one, it was never getting written up in a peer-reviewed journal. And besides, you already know what happens when people don't do any detoxing. The metals remain. I mean, this is sort of a known quantity.
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a known quantity. So we ran it, and of the people who used it, the average removal on mercury was like 92%. On lead was 89, and I think the average removal on aluminum was like 75.
Now, I remember reading about this study, and I was fascinated by it, but I've had a question ever since. How was the level of heavy metals removal measured?
They're measuring actually a lot of it in the urine. It's not the best place to get the initial read, but you can measure the increase in removal, because that's actually where it goes. What happens, the way it works, is there's nothing very magical about it. It's just the first time, I mean, the two ingredients in it, people have used separately for years.
Cilantro and
chlorella. And basically they work in two different ways. The cilantro has the ability to release, to cause metals to release. They bind to cells. They're electrically bound to them. This releases them. And then the chlorella basically then grabs them and then flushes them out the system in the urine primarily.
Okay, so your chlorella, is famous for doing that.
For doing that.
Yes.
And when you add the cilantro to it, then you're basically releasing it from the cell, so you get much more removal.
So the 92% number that you quote, is that a relative increase in the excretion of heavy metals in the urine?
It was actually when the people who tested it were able to determine how much people were starting with, the levels of mercury in their bodies to start with, it got a 92% removal of the total amounts of mercury in their body.
That's astonishing.
Yeah, in 6 weeks.
Especially when you consider what mercury is involved with in terms of chronic disease and neurodegenerative disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia, birth defects. I mean, you name it. Mercury is one of the most toxic pollutants out there.
And it's everywhere. It's not just your fillings. It's now in the food supply and water supply. Most of it coming from the burning of coal that comes down in the rain. Yeah.
Right. Well, we got to have the lights on.
We do. That we do.
Otherwise, what are we going to do? Okay. Another question I've always had about this product. Now, I take this product, let me tell you when I take this product.
Okay.
And for those of you watching, this is a great thing to carry with you if you're traveling or if you have to go out and eat at a restaurant. because restaurant food is food that you don't know about. There's a big question mark of where it came from, especially if it's fish or seafood. I always take this after eating seafood or any questionable food because you never know about the heavy metals content in other foods. But what about with expectant mothers, prenatal nutrition? Now I know alcohol is generally a no-no for prenatal nutrition, but the removal of heavy metals is so important.
Yeah, I mean, really, you should before you get pregnant. I mean, this is something you should do before you get pregnant. But again, this one is real clean. Of the 50 people who tested, not one had any side reaction. Can people have? Ultimately, if you do enough, you're going to find people who have some kind of reaction to anything.
Sure.
But in general, what's happening is it's releasing it and it's binding it. So it's actually freeing it up. You already have the stuff in your body anyway. So it's causing harm while it's there.
Right.
So you're releasing it and you're getting it out. In general, though, when you're pregnant or nursing, you tend not to do detoxing because the blood goes,
Right. Now, in terms of mercury fillings, as you mentioned, we all have these things called silver fillings or silver amalgams. They're actually made of 40% mercury. And I had my mercury removed from my teeth a while back. If I were doing that again, I would be taking this product before, during, and after the mercury removal procedure.
That's the other thing. They've found that no matter how careful the people are removing, you can actually measure a significant increase in mercury levels in the body after removal.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, there's so much vapor. They're drilling on the mercury, you're swallowing. It's got to get in your system.
So use that. And what we recommend, actually, what I recommend is doing 2 6-week detoxes a year and then 2 2-weekers. And that'll keep you pretty clean.
Now, how about your website address where people can order this particular product?
Oh, where people can order is the BaselineNutritionals.com.
BaselineNutritionals.com. Do you still have that special 5 for 100? Is that what this costs? Or?
Yeah, actually, if you buy, that's all on any of the products are sort of ranked by category. This is a category A. If you buy any combination of 5 products, the price drops from $34.95 to $20 a bottle. So you get 5 of these or 5 of any in that category.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's prop number 2 there. What else you have, John?
Let's shift gears.
Okay.
One of the things that we're playing with is, you know that along with the Baseline Nutritional, which is sort of like the purest high-end where we don't care, like the Viral-Gon about taste.
Right.
I do consulting, and one of the companies I consult for is Sweet Success, which would almost seem like an odd match.
It does seem so, yes.
Yeah, they came out of Nestle's. They were at one time the second biggest diet shake after Slim Fast. And they had done something like $300 million in business. Anyway, Nestle stopped producing them. They were bought out. These people bought them. They originally brought me in to consult and to help them sort of doctor up their line, which I do. I mean, but then they basically said, oh, that's really great. We really love what you're doing. We love what you did with that. Can you basically design a higher end line for us? I said, that I can do. Then they said, can we use your name? And I said, that you can't do. Basically, you don't get use of my name unless certain requirements are met.
Right.
Yeah, because my name actually, like your name is everything.
You're right.
So I said, if you basically match certain requirements, if you're willing to produce the product the way I want, if you're willing to ingredient source it, I will accommodate certain things. I won't ask you to produce something that has no taste, because I understand in functional foods.
Right.
The number one, actually it's interesting, in surveys, when people buy functional foods, their number one requirement is to taste good.
That's odd, isn't it? Because...
Well, yes and no. I mean, from a straight health perspective, yes, but I understand. People want something that's easy and convenient.
Right.
So I said, I will get you something that tastes good, but you have to follow along with me in other areas, and they agreed. So the first requirement was you can't use dairy and you can't use soy for the protein.
Good for you.
So
would you end up with brown rice protein or something like that?
Well, I mean, brown rice I used in my superfoods. I've used an accelerator, not soluble. And the soluble version's very bitter. What we ended up using was yellow pea protein, which is highly soluble, and we actually rebuilt it from the ground up. I said, basically, I want a hypoallergenic protein, the yellow pea. I want carbohydrates. When everyone was doing Atkins, I said, no, carbs are good, just the right ones.
Right.
So we used the activated barley. I said, okay, no sugar, no artificial sweeteners.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
So, and I said, what we ended up with, because the FDA doesn't like stevia, and Lohan is a very strong taste, it's not suitable, is we ended up with brown rice syrup.
Very low glycemic sweetener.
Low glycemic, that's it. We use that for fats instead of the usual throwaways like corn oil. I first looked at omega-3s, which, like you, I've been pitching for a long time, and now everybody's, but you couldn't put enough in in the shake without totally distorting its balance to have any meaning.
Right.
So I said, let's use some fats that we can put in. Let's use CLA and MCTs. So that we can put those in amounts.
Coconut oil source for that? Okay.
Yeah. And then the CLAs are, again, vegetable oil for that. And we could put in a full gram, which is a reasonable amount for the CLAs. So we actually, again, we rebuilt everything from the ground up, totally redefined the way we did the shake. It took a year to actually get it to taste good.
Wow.
And we're going to play with here is, here's one of the, it actually has a, this is not the label, by the way, that they're actually using. This is from the initial run.
Oh, you actually have the shake with you here.
Yeah, this is one from
Oh my. So this is, what flavor is this, John?
This is the first one we did. I may have a problem here with getting this one off because you got the label over it.
This has the child safety seal.
It does. Bridget threw a label on it, and it sort of covered the...
Here,
can you get that?
Yeah, maybe so. But this is just a mock-up.
Yeah, it's a mock-up on
because, you know, friends, we're always bringing you cutting-edge...
This is what their label will actually look
information.
Like.
Yeah, this is even before it's being mass-produced here.
You getting that one?
It's coming along. I have tools.
You have tools. I
have tools with
He's
me.
opening that one. You got that one there?
Yeah, it's the sticker.
Yeah, the sticker covered it.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
He got it.
It's like a little portable can opener here.
Now the goal here was to make something that didn't just taste good for a pea protein, but something that tasted really good in the market.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
Okay, now, wait a minute. This is chocolate.
This is chocolate. This is an immune shake. It's got a lot of astragalus, beta-glucans in it.
Now, astragalus has quite a definite taste as well. So you're able to mask that?
What we did, and the way I did this to get flavor, is the brown rice syrup has a flavor, butterscotch flavor. The activated barley has a flavor. The yellow pea actually is almost neutral with a very slight sweet taste. Not a problem at all. What I did is we chose flavors that worked with it, rather than trying to force flavors on it. So we used an all-natural bittersweet chocolate, and what it's got a butterscotchy, malty back flavor, which is really pleasant.
One more question. How about the macronutrients? Grams of protein, grams of carbs?
It's got there's 12 grams of protein, 10 that are actually functional in the body, 10 grams of real protein.
And carbs?
Carbs, because of the activated barley and the rice syrup, I forget the exact number, it's 46 or 56, but again, low glycemic.
Right. So it's sustained energy.
Yeah. And that's the full container. We didn't play the game that some people do and say there are 2 servings in there. And
right.
Yeah.
All right. It's a very nice taste.
Yeah.
And the texture is nice too.
That's it, yeah, mouth feel good.
Oh, there's just a slight, I taste that. I'm very sensitive to things, so I can barely taste the herbs right at the end.
Yeah.
But it's very mild. And what did you use as a thickener?
Thickener, we used some inulin in there.
Okay.
And then, of course, the activated barley.
Wow.
Thickens it a bit, too.
This is good.
Isn't that good?
I could handle this.
Yeah. I mean, that was the goal, because for them, that was their requirement. It had to taste good.
So this is, pardon my language, but this is a no BS product.
Yeah.
Finally going mainstream.
Going mainstream.
There's no chemical sweeteners, no artificial colors, and Slim Fast. Last time I looked at it, the number one ingredient was table sugar.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop laughing fast enough. But so this is the real deal. I mean, it tastes great, but it's also highly nutritious.
It's also it's fun for me because it was a whole different area to play with. Functional foods, taste, things that I normally don't. Although I have a background in it. I mean, years ago I worked in that area. But the other thing is they've been picked up. And I don't want to, because they're a publicly traded company, I have to be careful of some of the things I say.
This is true.
But they've signed a deal and they publicized it with the Mark Burnett Group that they're going to be promoting the shakes and the power blends on Survivor and The Apprentice starting next season.
Again, it's called Sweet Success?
Sweet Success is the company. And this is the first one you're tasting is Chocolate Immunity Infusion.
When can people actually find these?
Okay, the first one, the juice drink, the power blend, is available. It's actually available now in select stores, expanding. This, I believe, is coming out in April. And their goal is by September to be available everywhere, nationwide.
Wow.
So when I mean, the whole thing when Survivor and The Apprentice start promoting it, it has to be available so people can pick it up.
So not only is this product by itself very exciting in terms of its formulation, but also that it is indicative of this big trend where even the mainstream is now recognizing the importance of going towards healthful ingredients, moving away from chemical sweeteners and things like that. Now, am I right in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. Walmart announced recently they intend to become the largest organic supplier of organic produce in the country.
That's bizarre.
You hadn't heard that?
How did that happen?
Oh, it's because that's where...
I think Bridget told me that, actually.
No, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, people look for grand conspiracies and malicious stuff. Large companies are interested in money. They'll go where the money is.
Right.
And if consumers demand, and the demand for organic foods and nutritional supplements is increasing, the danger is, and this is the danger of it, is people don't know exactly what they want. They don't know what really is good, so that it gets co-opted and perverted.
Right.
And you can find lots of things that are supposedly good for you that are still sugar and still isolated vitamins and all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah, well, look who one of the main sponsors is of this show. And we won't even name names.
We won't name them.
But it's a candy bar with high fructose corn syrup in it. So, so there you go.
Yeah.
Big money. But it's not a healthful food.
It's not a healthful food.
Not in my opinion.
So, I mean, again, consumers want, but they don't quite know what they want.
Yeah.
So companies are going there, and as much as aware as consumers are, and the more they demand, companies will go there. If there's money to be made, heck.
You bet.
Here's one of the, I ended up writing an article. You may have seen it, the one on the power aisle in stores. Did you see that one in the news?
No, I didn't see that.
This is one of the favorite things. I was stunned. I was walking in a Ralph's. Ralph's is one of the big chains out here, big supermarkets, and they have power aisles. Did you know that supermarkets now have things called power aisles?
No.
And I knew it was a power aisle because it actually says aisle 8, the power aisle. That's what it says.
What's a power aisle? What are you talking about?
Basically, a power aisle is in the dead center of the store. It runs down the store. There's nothing in between. It's like double wide. It's like an expressway. And they put the stuff they want to sell the most of that's the highest volume stuff. In this power aisle, one end running the entire length of the stores was sodas. The other side, snack foods.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Now, what I'm telling you is if people demanded it, if they bought it, then that power aisle would be basically organic produce and nutritional supplements.
Right.
They will go where the money is. That power aisle was created because they wanted to make it easy for people to buy the foods that they buy. So when consumers get smart, when consumers start demanding, the market will go there. And then you have to be careful to hold their feet to the fire so they don't pervert it.
Right. Well, that's why this kind of effort is so important, John, and what you and I are doing here right now, sharing information, because it is information that will ultimately shift consumer demand, and then the corporations will respond as you just described.
Right.
But that doesn't happen without the education up front.
Yeah, and again, that's what you and I do. The baseline of Health Foundation, that's the johnbarron.org. Is purely information. We don't sell product. We don't do anything. It's basically to educate. It does what you do.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's actually out of self-interest. Because if the more people you get aware and smarter, and the more they demand, then the more we will have what you and I personally want for ourselves. I mean, that's
the
reality.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, every time I go into a store these days and I see a new organic product, I thank all the other consumers in the world who figured out they should finally buy it.
Exactly. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I mention a product, it's out of stock like the next couple of weeks. Right? They'll say, "Oh, silly me for opening my mouth and talking about this great new product," but obviously that's my job.
Yeah.
Quick break here.
Okay.
We doing okay with that background noise?
Yeah, I mean it's a low hum there, but
no problem then.
Bad stuff.
We'll continue because it's live at the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So how are we doing so far?
Anything you want to talk about?
Well, you have more.
I do. I have. This is a fun one. The Private Reserve Superfood.
Private Reserve.
There's actually a story behind this stuff. Originally, I wasn't going to bring it out because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
The raw cost of the ingredients in here actually cost more than the retail price of a lot of so-called high-end superfoods in the market. It was actually something that I made. A lot of the products I make actually for myself and my wife. That's the original market. The things that we want.
Sure.
And what we had is people who said we want access to it. So I put it out. We produced it in a limited run. And when I announced it, when I announced it, the way I announced it is I told people they wouldn't want it. I said, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Although we sold it direct, we were able to sell it for $89 a jar was the retail. I said, it's too expensive. You don't need it. It's only for those who want the very best, who don't care what they spend, who want what I take every day.
Yeah.
The surprise was, and it was only half a surprise, is we sold out 2.5 months of inventory in the first 2 weeks it was available.
Yes.
And one of my favorite stories is the guy who manufactures my enzymes for me is also a world-class mountain climber and an athlete. And he uses the other one here, the accelerator.
Accelerator?
Yeah, he uses that because it gives him sustained energy for hours when he's climbing mountains. He calls my wife in a panic and says, "Am I supposed to be using this?" She goes, "No, no, no, no. You know, that's only for those who want the best, who don't care what it costs, who want what John." But I'm one of those.
I want the best.
I want the best. So it turns out there is actually a large market for people who want what it does. And the amazing thing is this is now actually running through the bodybuilding market and the martial arts market.
Oh, interesting.
It turns out there is someone who used a regimen based on superfood, an accelerator, and the proteolytic enzymes that we have. And literally, he's 53, how old is he? 53. And in 10 weeks transformed himself so that all of the bodybuilders and their competition bodybuilders where he works out were coming, "What the heck are you doing?"
Wow.
And this is now rippling through the bodybuilding community.
That's really interesting because, the bodybuilding community, they're not interested in health. They're interested in mass, whatever it takes.
Right.
Whatever chemical it is, doesn't matter.
And that's still their interest. But you can get there in a different way.
Without destroying your liver.
Without destroying your liver.
Time.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Now, can you give us a brief overview of what's in this product?
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to make clear is I wasn't making this a vitamin supplement.
Right.
We talked about I'm not a great fan. There's a use for them, but not a great fan of vitamin isolate.
Sure.
And besides, most people are already taking multivitamin. So, I mean, this whole idea of putting 100% of your vitamin requirement, every breakfast cereal, every bar, how many times can you get 100% of the chemical vitamins you need?
Yeah, you don't need any of that.
Don't need it.
Right.
What it was an attempt to make, again, a clean hypoglycemic protein. So it's a combination of rice and pea protein, which gives you sort of an optimum, highly usable protein. Uses the activated barley, flaxseed. It was to put full doses in of a number of key antioxidants. And again, no pixie dust. Full doses of ace-mannan, the key aloe vera extract. Full doses of mangosteen. Full doses of noni. All in here, so you can get it all. I mean, stuff that you would normally pay $30 a jar for a month for.
Just from one of those things.
From one of those things, yeah. It's all in here, again, at full doses. So if you're using this every day, you're getting full doses of mangosteen, full doses of the noni, full doses of ace-mannan, plus protein, plus the activated barley, plus flaxseed.
Outstanding.
So
now, the product that I like the most in terms of your superfoods is this one, the Accelerator product. I blend this into smoothies.
Right.
Now I make some crazy smoothies, right? So my own homegrown sprouts grown in ocean mineral water. For the mineralization, right? And I add in organic blueberries and things like that, and celery, cucumber, a lot of veggies.
This is an interesting combination.
Yeah, it is. This is. My staff knows that I always come to work with a big jug of this stuff, Right. It's like, what is that today? It looks the same color as yesterday. No, it's different, I swear. But this goes into my smoothies as well. So the taste of it is very good to me as well. How do you use the Accelerator?
I actually, when I make smoothies, I combine it. 1 scoop of this, 1 scoop of this.
I see.
They're sort of cousins. They have a lot of similar ingredients.
Right.
There are 2 differences. One is this has the protein in it. So if you're going to use long term, this has got protein. This one has 2 things in it that make it useful. If you're blending a smoothie and you're using things that have fruit in it, this has herbs in it that lower the glycemic response even more, and has a little bit of guarana. I like guarana because it releases caffeine slowly. So you basically don't throw the body out of kilter, and it'll give you energy for like 3-4 hours. So you use this as a combination, and you're good for like 3-4 hours, feeling really satisfied, really energized, really full.
Yeah, that's good too, because the guarana, I mean, I'm very sensitive to stimulants. I won't even touch caffeine, but I don't have any problem with the guarana in this product at all.
Yeah, it gives you a mild lift. You can sort of just feel slightly like better.
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly better for hours. No buzz.
All right, so these are some of the things you have right now, John.
Yeah.
I know you always have things on the drawing board. Because that's to be expected.
Yeah.
So
well,
anything you care to talk about?
Well, what's the next thing we're coming? Actually, the next thing that we're coming out with is a revised version of a woman's formula. One of the things that a lot of women are not aware of is that testosterone is incredibly important to them, more so for women than men. You tend to think of it as a man's hormone. Not actually, men and women both have all of the hormones, estrogen and testosterone. In small amounts, testosterone gives you that zest for life, that edge. And what happens is a lot of women in their 30s and 40s, basically that testosterone gets bound up, they lose it. And that's when you'll find a lot of women as they hit in their 30s and 40s suddenly lose the zest for life. Any desire to do anything, any desire for sex, any desire, they just want to hang out. And I know we've all met them, and anyone there'll be women listening to this that have experienced it. What it is, you've lost that little bit of testosterone. That little bit kicks you in and gives you elan. Now you get too much of it and you want to beat everybody up next to you at a soccer match. Right. And that's what happens to guys. But yeah, that certain amount, and then as you get more, it also actually helps build muscle tone. It's important for building muscle mass. And again, instead of adding extra testosterone, what you can do is you can release testosterone that gets bound up. It's no longer available in the body.
Now, one of the things I really want to ask you about is dairy, because you and I have the exact same take on dairy. But some people out there still think that human beings are supposed to drink from cows. They think since everybody else does it, it must be okay. So what's your take on dairy?
Okay, now I got to be careful here because when I get negative on dairy, boy, do I get blasted. Because there's that whole school out there, and there's a difference between dairy that has basically been pasteurized. The heat changes the protein significantly. If you're using basically organic raw dairy, there is a difference between that and homogeneous. Still have problems. There's still proteins in the dairy that cause a problem. There's a problem with the amounts of proteins. Casein, for example, is so much higher in cow dairy than it is. It's about 20 times the level in human dairy. Its purpose is different. It's designed to take a calf from approximately 200 pounds to 1,800 pounds or 2,400 pounds.
As quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible. Whereas human milk is designed to take an 8-pound baby to like 50 pounds in the same time frame. Huge difference. That there are lots of low-level allergy problems. Dairy, it's been shown that some of the proteins will ultimately damage the pancreas, be a major contributor to
type 1 diabetes.
Type 1 diabetes, Type 2, what else can it be bad for? I mean, there's just so many things.
Well, constipation, sinusitis, general whole system stagnation.
Yeah, I mean, there are many things. Again,
asthma.
Difference, but not a total difference. Because again, I know people who get very healthy eating raw dairy, raw meat. I have problems with both of them.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean,
that's raw meat,
you've heard those programs, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. I know people who do raw dairy, but it's unprocessed, like you said.
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
Big difference. But in general, I'm not the greatest fan of dairy. I think one of the things is to keep in mind that man is the only animal, other than domesticated cats or dogs that we're feeding it to, the only animal that naturally eats dairy after it weans. I think there's a point to that. And nature is telling you something, and you don't need it. You can get all the proteins you want, you get all the nutrition you want without it. And of course, my favorite story, this is one when I was lecturing in the Virgin Islands to a bunch of high school students trying to talk health and nutrition.
Oh, why? What got into you?
I know. I was there for a different purpose, and they brought me to the high school to talk.
I see.
And I'm 10 minutes into it, and I can see they don't care.
That's exactly the case.
They're like, So I basically...
You should bring a soda machine to keep them awake during your nutritional lecture, So
I immediately shifted gears and said, all right, guys, let's change tactic. How many of you eat pizza? They all eat pizza. Okay, have you ever thought about what you eat? All right. Any of you ever help your parents hang wallpaper? They're about 8 or 10. What do you make your wallpaper paste from? White flour and water. What do you make your pizza crust from? White flour and water. Okay, any of you use Elmer's glue? Whose picture is on the front of Elmer's glue? It's Elmer the cow. Because at one time originally, not anymore, but originally, it was made basically with casein. The same thing that makes cheese gluey is what Elmer's glue, now they use a synthetic. But at one time, that's what it was. When you eat pizza, guys, you're eating wallpaper paste and Elmer's glue. How easily do you think that's leaving your body?
Oh, right.
So all of you are carrying basically this stuff glued to your intestinal tract. If you're carrying 8 to 10 pounds of fecal matter on your backs, how many of you run track or play football or do sports? Tell me, can you perform better carrying an 8-pound weight on your back? Right. So do you think it makes any difference if you're carrying it in your gut? So, I mean, one of the things on dairy is, yes, it's basically, it's high casein, it's glue, it's allergenic, it causes mucus,
and that's not even the homogenization.
That's right, yes, and the homogenization, which basically the enzyme monoamine oxidase, when you homogenize it, you basically change the fundamental character of it, and it actually is a major factor in causing heart disease.
Yes.
And unhomogenized, not the same. So.
Wow, so you're not going to get in trouble with anything you just said about dairy?
Not unless it's shown on Oprah. Although there was actually one fun thing, I won't mention the name, but one of the large dairy cooperatives, actually I was brought down to Wall Street to meet with one of the largest dairy companies in the world. They were looking to get into nutraceuticals and functional foods, and they were talking about buying me out.
Buying you out?
I kid you not.
What do you mean buying you out?
Well, they wanted to make an offer. I was there to see what the heck they were talking about. I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
And they had checked certain facts, like they found if you look up my name on the net, it gets 4.5 million hits. It's like the second biggest alternative health name on the net. They hadn't checked what I did. And about 3 minutes in, they're showing me a presentation on all the things that they could do. And I said, have you guys ever looked at what I said about dairy? Because I think there's a fundamental problem you haven't looked at. They haven't.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't received any multi-million-dollar buyout offers from the dairy industry either, for some odd reason.
No, dairy is not. I'm not that big on dairy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not either. Okay, so what else is a passionate topic for you?
Let's talk about soy as the alternative.
Okay.
I'm not that great a fan of soy. Let me qualify something here. There's one problem we have in America. We assume that if something is good, that a whole lot of it must be really good.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always apply. Soy in moderate amounts in the right form is okay.
Like fermented.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. 10 minutes. 10 on this tape.
Oh, okay.
And then we can
do whatever you want. The fermented soy, because again, what happens is when it's unfermented, it actually stops the absorption of certain minerals because the phytates in it. But the other problem is the phytoestrogens, which are beneficial in small amounts, and larger amounts not so beneficial, and really not beneficial for children. The problem I have is the soy-like formula for infants. I've heard frightening statistics, and one of them that I will frequently talk about is the age of puberty in girls. In non-westernized societies, average age of puberty is 15 or 16. Now down to average of 8 or 9 in the U.S. and most Western countries. Oh, you didn't know that?
You're kidding me.
No, and I haven't hit the frightening one. About 2 years ago, I heard the statistics, one of the most frightening things I've ever heard. 1 in 100 girls in the United States is now showing signs of puberty by the age of 3.
That's unbelievable.
And that's from exposure to all of the estrogens, the phytoestrogens, which are beneficial in small amounts, but for tiny little bodies in massive amounts, it was never, soy is not good as the major protein supplement, which we use it for.
Now, this hormonal effect then must also explain the problems that have been surfacing recently about soy with fertility and reproductive health as well.
It's a major factor. The other, of course, is we're exposed to chemical estrogens in huge amounts, and they're potent in amounts as small as a billionth of a gram. I mean, it's amazing. We are playing, and we talked about this with someone earlier today, we are involved now, right now, in the Western world in one of the greatest experiments, and I use greatest in not the positive sense, in the history of mankind. We're now being exposed to 100,000 chemicals that did not exist 100 years ago, that have been untested, if you will, on humanity.
And even the ones that have been tested were only tested in isolation, never in combination, right?
Yeah, and exactly, some of the phytoestrogens, in fact, will increase the potency of others 50,000 times or more.
Wow.
So yeah, when you blend them, it's frightening. It's an experiment. We don't know the results. We know that, for example, we talked about the young girls. The number of boys now being born without fully descended testicles is reaching epidemic proportions. Sperm counts dropping dramatically. I mean, there's so many things going on.
Well, infertility is now epidemic in Western society, clearly in the United States.
Which could have positive effects in reducing population. Look at the bright side.
But no, all it's doing is creating customers over at the in vitro fertilization centers, you know. And now getting pregnant used to be free. Now it costs $30,000, you know.
Yeah, but you get multiples.
You get like 3 at once, I guess.
3 at once.
That's not a good thing for a new mother.
No.
3 at once.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, there are so many things that are pretty frightening. The sort of the core principle of what we do in the baseline of health, the core message I have, if it comes down to it, is there are really 2 things you want to do. You need to remove toxins, the things that are poisoning you, that are now in your body, that were never there before, that were never meant to be there, that your body is not designed to handle. You've got to remove them. You're exposed to them daily, no matter how clean you are. And the other is you got to put in the proper nutrients, and you can no longer get them in your food.
Well said.
Yeah, you just can't get them.
Worth repeating. You can no longer get them in your food.
Yeah.
You must supplement.
In some form or another, you must supplement.
So you're contacted with some frequency by companies that want your consultations on formulations then?
Yeah. Oh, and actually, here's a fun one. Talked about the warp speed. We've been contacted by multiple soda companies that are talking about turning this into a soda.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a competitor with Red Bull, like you said.
And actually, they'll totally redefine. It's what Red Bull was 10 years ago, where they created the energy market. This is actually the neural tonic market.
Now, okay, let's talk about neural tonic market for a second. This, I've always thought, there's a huge opportunity for someone who wants to make supplements for athletes to boost, reduce their reaction time, boost their neurological health in terms of martial arts or professional sports of any kind, because nutrition will affect sports performance in a huge, huge way.
Sure.
Has anybody contacted you for sports supplements like that?
Actually, yes. We're potentially working with some martial arts studios that want us to develop supplements. There are some, I suppose I can't really talk about Jeff yet, no. There's some things I can't talk about yet. There's some medical doctors who are into sports medicine, major people that want to actually work at developing some stuff.
I was thinking you could take warp speed, the tincture, and then you could play that hand slapping game with people, you know, you'd win every time.
Well, we actually, and you can sort of still feel that. I mean, it's still got that little buzz going.
Yeah, it's still going.
We actually, because it's a different entity, warp speed, if you're not using it as an appetite thing, but you're using it as a stimulation, we actually created a separate company called NaturalHerbs.com.
NaturalHerbs.com.
Yeah, and it's selling a version of warp speed, whole different label, whole different entity. We're selling something called Chill Juice.
Chill Juice?
Which is a kava formula. It's sort of like Alice in Wonderland, you know.
Yeah.
One tincture makes you larger, the other makes you small.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And we'll be coming out with another one that I developed some time ago, a form of a brain tonic. Now this one you might be in, because this actually leads into where you were talking about. A lot of times when I was lecturing, I don't do it so much anymore, because it got me so busy just on the phone and answering emails. But I used to travel around the country a lot lecturing, and I'd fly cross country. So you spend 7-8 hours between the airport flying. They pick you up at the airport, they drive you right over to a meeting on the East Coast, it's 8 o'clock, and then I have to go do a 3-hour presentation. And you'd be a little punchy.
Yeah.
So I actually developed something that I call Brain Tonic, which was designed to actually get me sharp just before I go on.
Right.
What happened is people would see me taking a squirt of this stuff, and they, what is it? And they'd want to try it, and we ended up making it, and I sold it for a while through another company. But we're going to actually upgrade it, and we'll be coming out with that through Neural Herbs.
What will it be called?
I have no idea at the moment.
Okay.
I have no idea at the moment, but it'll be at NaturalHerbs.com. But the one thing about that one is it's really hot, because we use a lot of cayenne, because the cayenne drives it into the bloodstream instantly.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, and it's got the brain herbs in it, like periwinkle and ginkgo, and we'll put bacopa in it again.
What about there's an ingredient we see that's an absorption enhancer in some supplements now. What is it, purpurine or?
Yes, yeah, bioperine.
Bioperine. Yes.
It does the same thing the cayenne does. The hot things will drive things into the blood, and so bioperine is and I use it in a couple of things, is an extract from black pepper. And a small amount of it will drive a certain number of things into the blood more quickly.
In fact, I think there's one company actually selling that as a standalone supplement with the claim that says it makes all your other supplements work better.
Well, yeah. I mean, certain things, and again, it's exactly what cayenne does. It pushes it into the blood. That's what it does.
So, John, let's talk about Detox here for a few minutes. And let me give you an intro here. I hear this term thrown around a lot in natural health.
Sure.
And it seems like someone is suffering, they say it's a detox. You know? No matter what's going on, if it's diarrhea, vomiting, headache, it's, I must be detoxing. And I tell them it's not necessarily true.
No, I just had that recently. Someone, they had the flu, cold, their nose running. Said, I'm detoxing everything. No, dude, you got a cold.
Sick.
Yeah, you're sick. There's actually an amount of truth to it, and not. And then sometimes you are just sick. Let's talk about detoxing. The fundamental principle is very simple. Your body is always cleansing stuff. That's what it naturally does. Your body is designed to take care of itself. It's actually a marvelous machine. And depending on where you are in the country, I could say it's the hand of God. You can say it's evolution. But your body is designed to rebuild itself, take care of itself, to cleanse toxins. The problem is nowadays, we so overwhelm it, it's impossible. We're exposed to so many things, it's impossible. Detoxing is thrown out as a general term. It's not. There are many specific kinds of detoxing.
Sure.
There are intestinal detoxes. You need to clean out the things that are accumulating in the colon. And yes, it's true. People can accumulate 8 pounds, 20 pounds, up to 50 pounds of fecal matter.
Wow.
It's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of doctors tell you, they say, well, I've done colonoscopies for years and never see any of it.
Well, that's because it's become the wall.
Well, no, it's actually because they cheat, because what's the thing you do just before you get a colonoscopy? You get a purgative.
That's right.
That's blowing everything out. But the fact is, the side effects can be seen. The polyps, the herniations of the colon, all of that can still be seen.
And this buildup, by the way, is it usually red meat and similar kind of animal products typically, or what is it?
No, it's anything that isn't moving. It's we talked about the pizza. It's lack of fiber. It's meat, because meat tends not to have any substance to it. And we could talk about oh geez, I wish we had time for that, to talk about meat and its role in diet. But yeah, if you're having meat, you need to have fiber with it to move it out. Otherwise, there's no bulk.
Right.
It tends to basically...
Because there's zero fiber in meat.
In meat. And meat tends to not so much digest as putrefy.
Right.
And it's not quite as bad as it sounds, but it is. You don't want it hanging around, you want it out. Actually, animals that are designed to eat meat, carnivores, have very short digestive tracts.
Yes.
Most digestion occurs in the stomach, and then when it's done, basically with heavy acid breakdown, boom, it runs right out.
Yeah.
Humans, basically the acid content is much lower, it goes in and does a long sort of putrefying digestion in the intestinal tract and tends not to go out. And so you get a buildup. And if you have that, cheeses, white flours that have no grain, you start to get basically a buildup. It dries. It's considered normal now in the United States, and you'll still find doctors telling you it's normal to have a bowel movement once every 3 to 5 days.
No.
Oh yeah.
That's normal?
That's normal.
So the doctor must
obviously
have
for the normal,
experience.
obviously normal for that doctor. So anyway, you have colon detoxing, and let's actually sort of, so we can cover them all quickly. When you're doing a colon detox, a colonic won't clean out the hardened material. Colonic can be real useful, make you feel better for a quick flush.
Right.
You have to basically break up some of that stuff over years. Will harden, basically pick up a texture of hardened rubber.
Yeah.
It will lodge in bowel pockets. Colonics won't pull those out.
Right.
You basically have to soften it. You need herbs to soften it. Basically break it up. Things like clay, bentonite or montmorillonite, better clay, which draw it, pull it out, and you can actually make dramatic improvements. After you clean it out, you then have to rebuild. You have to repair damage that's been done. You have to get rid of the polyps, and there are herbs that will soothe and rebuild the intestinal tract. You have to rebuild the bacteria that are gone.
Right.
And dysbiosis is a major problem. And lack of bacteria, beneficial bacteria, can account for as much as 40% of your immune function.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Good point.
So you need to get those back in. That's just one form of detox. And you can't do it with one formula. Anyone who gives you one pill won't do it.
Right.
You basically need to rebuild the strength of the peristalsis. You have to get that going again. That's one formula. You have to do a detox. There's another formula, rebuilding bacteria. You can't do it all at once. One of my favorite things is people who try and do it all at once are formulas where they'll basically, and you can tell they went from the book. They took everything from the book and they said, here's everything good for a colon. Golden seal, good for the intestinal tract, put it in. Probiotics, good for the intestinal tract, put it in. Yes, absolutely true. Except, what does golden seal do? It kills bacteria.
Right.
That's its value.
Right.
Probiotics are bacteria.
Exactly.
You're putting them together, you're killing the things you're putting in.
Right.
Yeah. Great separately, not together.
Right.
So, other form of detox, and the one that actually I will tell people makes the biggest difference in their health, is a liver detox.
Sure.
Cleaning out the liver, getting it to function, because it's the main detoxifier in the body. Getting that cleaned out so it functions is a big deal. And we do the annual liver detox. You've got to join us next time. It's actually fun.
I'd love to join you next time.
Yeah, we do an annual, yearly event, and people from all over the world join in. And no, as some people write in, oh, I'd love to do it. Where do I, where are you doing it? No, everybody does it out of their house.
You do it in your own kitchen.
Do it, in your house.
Yeah, those watching, you can join. It happens every year in January, correct?
In January, yeah. We wait basically for the first we wait for New Year's to clear. So it's like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, sometime around that time.
Yeah.
We started on a Wednesday because the 2 toughest days, the days you're having the most garlic, tend to be then Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
And so then if you're at work, you're not offending your fellow employees, or if you're having any discomfort, you tend to avoid it then.
So tell us about this liver cleanse. What do people do for each of these days?
Okay, basically there are several parts to it. You're using some herbs, and some of that we produce. If you want, you can find others that are comparable.
Yeah.
I think we do the best, but you're using a liver tincture, which basically is a detoxifier and a rebuilder. It's got herbs that kill parasites. It's got herbs that regenerate liver tissue in it. Certainly, milk thistle is one that everyone knows, but the stronger one that we use is kutki, or Picorrhiza koroa, which is from the Far East, which is much more bitter and does the same thing, but even more so than milk thistle.
I'm not even familiar with that herb.
That's actually, if we had time, I'd tell you there's a great story on that, where I became a demigod at a convention of Vietnamese when I was able to identify that in a magic batch of herbs that someone came to me with.
Now how do you spell that herb?
Well, the simple spelling is kutki, K-U-T-K-E.
Oh,
K-U-T-K-I. Either spell, yeah.
Kutki.
Kutki.
And it's native or indigenous to what area?
To Asia. You'll find it in India. You'll find it in Vietnam. That's where they also came to. And
it protects liver cells. It
rebuilds them. Yeah, it does very much, but even more so. We have a tea that basically will help remove nausea. But the core to it is what's done in any liver program, where every morning you're having a drink with olive oil in it.
The drink, yeah.
The drink. Now, if you do it right, it's very pleasant.
Oh, really? I must be doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. Because most people do the one-day one, where you're taking like a half a cup of olive oil and a little lemon juice.
Right.
And you mix it up. Well, if you do it, what we do is we do it over 5 days, because we'll fast with it. We're also using the herbs, and you get to build to it. The trick is you have 0 fats for the day. You have to have 0 fats. It builds up the bile, because the bile won't release. And then you have this drink with olive oil and garlic in it. And that sudden influx of oil
just purges.
It literally causes your liver and your gallbladder to go squeeze everything out.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Well, if you do it right, what we do is we'll use orange juice, lemon, and you start with 1 tablespoon of olive oil the first day, 2 the next, and on the 5th day, the last day, you're doing 5, which is half a cup. A lot of people don't know, but a lot of the fast food restaurants don't use any dairy in their shakes. They use oil. And if you put oil in a blender, it gets very foamy and creamy.
Oh, yes.
So you blend it with orange juice. The first 3 days, it's like drinking an orange Julius with a little punch. It actually tastes good.
That's a great idea. I've been just chugging olive oil. What was I thinking?
Yeah, and you do it this way, it actually tastes good. We have people ask, can I drink this afterward? It really tastes good. Last 2 days, when you're using the ginger and 5 cloves of garlic, it's a bit spicy. But the first few days,
and it has to be raw garlic too.
Raw
correct?
garlic, yeah. And then the other, we talked about the heavy metal detox is another form of detox, and another detox is a kidney flush. And there are simple ones that you can do, some with like gravel root and so on, that are very helpful. But a simple form of kidney flush is you can use the herb Chancapiedra.
Chancapiedra, that's from South America.
South America, and the literal translation is stonebreaker.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and literally what that does, it'll break up gallstones. And I recommend actually using it, using the bottle before you do the liver detox, because it softens the gallstones, so it makes an easier passing.
So if you really plan ahead and you do these things in sequence, you can get a phenomenal result from it.
And what we do is we will usually tell people, if you haven't done it before, you should do the colon cleanse in the fall, along with a heavy metal detox. We combine them together. Do Chancapiedra just before January, and then in January do a combination of the gallbladder liver with a blood cleanser.
It's wonderful. Now, again, for those viewing, they want to go to your website probably and check this out, maybe participate next January. What's the website again?
It's jonbarron.org, JONBARRON.org.
Okay, well, as always, John, it's such a pleasure just chatting with you and exploring some ideas.
A lot of fun.
Thank you so much for being willing to sit down and do this with me.
My friend, good to see you.
And for those viewing, again, it's Jon Barron. BaselineNutritionals.com is where your products are found. And this is the man to watch. He's been in this industry for many, many years and will be here for many more. If you want to find some cutting-edge nutrition, stay tuned in to what Jon Barron is doing. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Mike.